Let's make him feel at home. Woody Allen, here he is.
Thank you.
Knowing what you know now, would you have ever dated Woody Allen?
Can you ask that question? Of course not. I regret the day I met him.
There was an indication everything wasn't just fine when Woody left his apartment at 74th Street and 5th Avenue. He had no comment. Woody is nice and dry inside, playing his clarinet. He may be playing with exuberance tonight, but I think in the future it may be a sad song as he has to answer these new charges.
Mia discovered their affair.
And she found out about it by finding some rather embarrassing pictures.
Yes. Correct. What is the question?
It was a media circus outside the courthouse where the press gathered in hopes of seeing ex-lovers Woody Allen and Mia Farrow attend the first hearing in their child custody battle.
Dylan says that the incident in the attic wasn't the only time his behavior had been inappropriate.
I guess I'm going to go now. I told you about my love life.
I was gonna continue to make films as long as that people are foolish enough to put up the money to support me.
Who lived here?
It was Woody.
Woody Allen? Come on. No. Really? Ooh, oh, good. Now the house is worth a little less.
Today, I want to talk about Woody Allen, or the cult of Woody Allen. Is it a cult? Does he have a cult following? Figuratively, well, I don't know about literally, but it's kind of culty in the sense that, you know, when the cult leader does some really crazy, weird, inappropriate, allegedly, things, and people just seem to be okay with it. And it's like, why is that? Is it because his art is so good? He's a filmmaker, an actor, a writer, a comedian. There are many well-known directors, comedians, actors who say that Woody Allen was a huge influence and inspiration for them. And it's not just that he has like a cult following in Hollywood. He has like an official spot in American history. Two of his movies, Annie Hall and Manhattan, have been included in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as culturally, historically, oh my God, historically or aesthetically significant. If you want to insult me, say, Noor, you're not even aesthetically significant. New insult unlocked. Unlocked, oh my God, I'm on a quest. Shut up. There are allegations he was inappropriate with his daughter, and then he also married his stepdaughter. Now she was, well, technically she was his long-term girlfriend's daughter. She was adopted. I guess that makes it okay. I don't, it's weird, okay? But with this latest Epstein release, his connections with Epstein are so much more than he previously admitted to, than was previously known. Woody Allen is mentioned in the Epstein files over 8,000 times, and not just him, but his wife, daughter, like forget sister wife, it's like daughter wife. She's also in the files, and what she said was also crazy. There's so many things she said that were kind of insane. They were neighbors of Epstein. He and Sunyi are in the flight logs on the Lolita Express, as they call it. They were one of the last people that were still in contact with him at the very, very end. No matter what these allegations are and how often they come up and how severe they sound or whatever, nothing really happens. And so it's like, is that because he's totally innocent? And so doesn't matter what they say, there's no there. Is it because of another reason? I'm gonna do what I always do on my channel, which is I'm gonna give you guys the facts, then we can discuss the theories, and then you can decide for yourself, okay? All right. I don't know why it's like I'm talking to you like that. So the whole thing started on November 30th, 1935 in the Bronx when a baby was born. And his name wasn't Woody Allen. No, it was Alan Stewart Konigsberg. And he was born to a woman named Nettie. And she balanced the books at her parents' deli. And his father was a jewelry engraver named Martin Konigsberg. And they were Jewish immigrants that were from Austria and Lithuania, and they ended up living in Brooklyn, and that's where they raised Alan. And Alan actually spoke German as a kid before he learned English. And his early childhood was pretty tumultuous because his parents fought a lot, and he ended up actually being estranged from his mother. So one could say maybe he has potentially, allegedly, possibly mother issues, or as they're known, mommy issues.
Do you remember coming to Grandma and Grandpa's house for dinners? Anna? You hated it. Okay.
He began writing jokes when he was 15 years old. So a lot of people think Woody Allen's funny, and he was selling his jokes to Broadway writers, and he was only 15. He changed his name to Haywood Woody Allen when he was 17 years old. He graduates high school and he goes to NYU, New York University, where he's studying communication and film. This is in 1953. But he drops out because he failed the course motion picture production. Then he went to City College of New York and he drops out during his first semester. And then he becomes self-taught after that. He's like, fuck you guys, I'm going to do this myself. As he's teaching himself, he's also making a name for himself from those jokes that he used to send and sell to these different Broadway writers. And so he starts making a name for himself through that. And so when he was 19 years old, he joined the NBC Writers Development Program. And this was in 1955. So then he gets a job on the NBC Comedy Hour and other television shows. And he's like writing for these television shows. And soon he is earning more money than both of his parents combined, earning $1,500 a week in the 50s when he was still a teenager. And a year after that, in 1956, he has his first marriage. He was 20 years old and she was 17. And her name was Harlan or Harleen Rosen. This marriage only lasted 3 years. And she ended up actually suing him for defamation because of a joke that he made. Okay. This joke that he made, apparently his ex-wife, she was actually SA'd outside of her apartment. He made a joke about it. The newspapers reported that she was violated, okay? As a joke, Woody Allen said, quote, knowing my ex-wife, it probably wasn't a moving violation. And she sued him for defamation. He was successful. Listen, people liked him. He was successful. In 1965, he was actually at the President Lyndon B. Johnston's inaugural gala, okay, in Washington, D.C. on January 8th, 1965. First Lady, Lady Bird Johnson, she described Woody Allen, and I want to read you what she said. And she said, Woody Allen, that forlorn, undernourished little comedian, stopped shooting a movie in Paris and flew across the Atlantic for about 5 minutes of jokes. Now that is what you call a read. Around this time now, he's like super famous. He gets married for a second time. His second wife is Louise Lasser, and she starred in a few of his movies. And this is a common theme. You're going to see that like when he's dating someone, they tend to star in his movies. In 1970 is when Woody Allen gets divorced from his second wife. In the 70s, his career takes off in a big way, and he also starts this relationship. This woman, her name is Babby Christina Engelhart, and she claims she had an 8-year affair with Woody Allen that started in 1976 when she was 17. They met, though, when she was 16. She says, I was a pleaser, agreeable. Knowing he was a director, I didn't argue. I was coming from a place of devotion. She says, I had been taunted, tormented as a Nazi child in the Jewish neighborhood I grew up in. My father ran around in lederhosen. I had doors slammed in my face. Woody's the Uber Jew, and I'm the Uber German. And she says, there was a chip on my shoulder about wanting to please those who cast me aside. I wasn't confrontational because I thought nobody likes Germans. Okay, so that was 1976. In 1977, was when Woody worked on the movie Annie Hall with Diane Keaton. It was a huge hit. It got 4 Oscars. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Actress for Diane Keaton. There was another young girl. Remember how I said there were 2 girls? Well, the other young girl, not Christina Engelhart, her name is Stacy Nelkin. She claims that she was in a bit part in the movie Annie Hall, but it got left on the cutting room floor. And that she was 17 and a student at Stuyvesant High School in New York City when she started her relationship with Woody Allen. So now he's got these two girls that are around the same time he's having this relationship with. And what's interesting is that in the next movie, which would be his big hit, Manhattan, that movie is about a 40-something-year-old man who's dating a 17-year-old girl. And the character in the movie is called Tracy. And this girl, her name is Stacy. And people think it's like based on her. But then Christina Engelhardt, she believes that it's a combination. Like basically there were several young girls that were that age range that he was talking to, and that like that character was like loosely based on all of those types of girls that he dated. Stacy also said that she met him when she was 16, and then that she started a relationship with him when she was 17 and he was 42, which is the same age as the age gap, the characters in the movie Manhattan. Also, we need to talk about Dalton School in the movie Manhattan. I just watched Manhattan yesterday, okay? So it's fresh on my mind. There's this scene. I even took a picture with my phone. I'm like, oh my God, where they're like walking in front of Dalton School. And I'm like, holy shit, this is where Jeffrey Epstein, like he taught Jeffrey Epstein from like 74 to 76. And this movie, it was around 76, 77, 78, like roughly around the time, maybe a few years later, but like still pretty close, especially considering the fact that these people are so close now in time. It's like, how far back did they know each other back then? We know that Jeffrey Epstein was given that job and he was unqualified. So could Jeffrey Epstein and Woody Allen have known each other in the 70s around this time, all the way back when with Dalton? I don't know. That's a theory. That's total speculation. I don't have any evidence other than the timeline and the dates. I'm, speculating on that, but it shocked me when I was watching the movie. I was like, what? So the movie itself is hard watch. What's most disturbing about it is that he's very self-aware. And the what he's writing, like this is a transcript that he wrote in a movie that he came up with, right? There are a lot of moments there where he's talking about how she's such a kid, she doesn't know this, she doesn't understand how much older he is. Like he's very aware of that.
I'm not hung up on you. I'm in love with you. You can't be in love with me. We've been over this. You're a kid. You don't. We have great sex. But you're 17 years old.
Later on, you'll see in the 90s when he does that interview 60 Minutes after the allegations, he seems very oblivious to that. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of an act, allegedly. Diane Keaton's character, she is confident. She goes against what he says. She challenges him. And so there's like this scene where they're at this museum and they're discussing the art. And the 17-year-old girl is basically just like agreeing with everything Woody Allen is saying about the art. And she doesn't really know much. And she's just like, oh my God, yeah, whatever. And then Diane Keaton's character, she's pushing back and has like opinions of her own that she has come up with and is expressing. And so he's like, oh, what did you think about this piece? I liked it. She's like, nah, actually, no, I don't like it at all. I think it was very this, that. And then the thing, he's like, oh yeah, and I didn't like this thing. And she's like, really? You don't like the cube or whatever? I really like the cube. And you can see like he's showing you that he's visibly upset by this, that she's not agreeing with him. And then when he's trying to be agreeable with her, she's like also not agreeing. And then they're walking afterwards and he's just like so irritated by her. And it was done in a funny way, but I'm like, wait, this is like maybe the root of all of it is that he feels threatened or intimidated by women his age who he can't use his intellect as something where he's more superior than them, because maybe in the looks department, he's not going to impress them. So maybe in the intellectual department, he's like, okay, here I can win. But then when he finds a woman who's attractive, who is just as smart, if not smarter than him, and not impressed by him, he's like, I don't like this. But then when he finds a younger girl who's very attractive, but immature and insecure and defers to him, he's like, aha, I got her. It reminded me of this clip that went viral of Woody Allen interviewing Twiggy, the model.
What are your views on serious matters?
Well,
I don't know. Who's your favorite philosopher?
I haven't got one. I don't know. Who's yours?
Oh, I like them all.
Who?
All your basic philosophers.
Who?
She's just all of them.
I don't know their names though. What are their names?
See, there's a host of them.
And then you start to realize this motherfucker doesn't have a favorite philosopher. He's trying to put her on the spot and make her look like she's not intellectual when he doesn't even know what he's talking about. And then I found this thing of her recently talking about it.
But it was such a mean thing to do to a young kid. Looking at it, I think I dealt with it pretty well. All I can remember thinking was, don't cry, because I was in such a panic. So that was done in front of an audience.
That lets you know a little something about him and puts into perspective, you know, my theory, speculating, allegedly. It's the power dynamics. It's the when they're that young, dude. You want to talk about running game? There was one scene where I literally had to pause it and be like, what the fuck? Diane Keaton's character asks the 17-year-old girl, what do you do like for work? You know, they're all adults, you know, and she goes, I go to high school. That's what she does for work. 42-year-old man dating a high schooler. Why is, you know, 18 years old the age of consent? Why is 18 an adult? How come it's 21 to drink and this and that? And it all goes to the draft, the war. It used to be age of consent for everything, and age to go to war and all that was 21. In World War II, lowered it to 18. And then during the Vietnam War, because there was a draft and it was an unpopular war and all these teenagers were being drafted, they had this slogan that people would say would be like, old enough to fight, old enough to vote. So then they lowered the voting age to 18 because you could go to war at 18, but you couldn't vote till you were 21. It's like, I want to be able to vote on whether or not we go to war type thing. And so with the schooling kind of wrapping up at 18 and voting at 18 and going to war at 18, everything started to be like, okay, 18 is the age of consent and the age of being an adult and everything like that. And then all the different states started changing that. And even drinking was brought down to 18. But then in the 80s, fun fact, with all the drunk driving incidents, there was this movement to bring it back up to 21, and that's what happened. So that's a little story for you as to why this age is the age, because some people will argue, oh, it's arbitrary, like 18, like, you know, who cares if it's 17 versus 18? You got to draw the line somewhere, correct? And also, your brain doesn't even develop until you're in your early 20s. Like, you can be an adult and still be a teenager when you're 18, 19. Think about that. Because there's so many things where they're like, he's just a teenager. Yeah, it was also an adult. So how old is 18 really? Then there's a kissing scene when they're in the carriage. And that scene was viscerally, like my body viscerally rejected it. He seemed almost feeble.
But I don't feel old. I feel, you know, I feel youthful. You know, I'm so youthful, agile, nimble, spry.
And it made me think about the fact that, like, the way that nature goes, you know, because there's some people who justify this by being like, well, when a woman gets her period or a girl gets her period, she's technically, if she's able to get pregnant, then that means her body's ready for sex. So you're putting an arbitrary number based on, you know, the military and the draft and whatever. But like, once she's bleeding, she's of age, right? But also, if we're going to use biology, bitch, how about the fact that once your shit doesn't work and you need Viagra, you're aged out. So that's biology telling you it's over. Hang it up. It's flaccid time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're done. Can't, you know, if you're going to use that argument, you kind of have to take the good with the bad. You know what I'm saying? Then he gets with Diane Keaton's character, but then she like leaves him, and then he like runs back to the little girl who's now 18, and she says, quote, I wrote it down because it was so disturbing. She says, I just turned 18. I'm legal, but I'm still a kid. Exactly. Exactly. So he knows. And still, that movie came out in 1979. And in 1979 is also when Woody Allen met Mia Farrow. And they started a relationship soon after. And she starred in so many of his movies. And their relationship was pretty unconventional in that they didn't live together. They like had separate apartments. And Mia Farrow had adopted many kids. She adopted some from a previous relationship, and that was Soon Yi, who's a Korean girl that she adopted with a previous partner. And so that's Sunyi Previn. And then also she had other kids that she adopted. When Mia Farrow met Woody Allen, she already had 7 children. According to Christina Engelhardt, she says that she was still with Woody Allen when he was with Mia Farrow, and not just that, that they all 3 together engaged in threesomes, and that she believed that Mia Farrow just did it because that's what Woody wanted, and that she actually didn't really want it, but just went along with it. And I'm going to read you the quote because it's kind of really gross. There was times the 3 of us were together and it was actually great fun. We enjoyed each other when we were in the moment. She was beautiful and sweet. He was charming and alluring. And I was sexy and becoming more and more sophisticated in his game. It wasn't until after it was done when I really had time to think of how twisted it was when we were together and how I was little more than a plaything. She continues, while we were together, the whole thing was a game that was being operated solely by Woody, so we never quite knew where we stood. She says, I used to think this was a form of mother-father with the 2 of them. What? To me, that whole relationship was very Freudian, how I admired them, how he'd already broken me in, how I let that be all right. Oh, God, that's so horrific. Oh, God, gross. Kind of weird ass fucking shit is that? A few years into their relationship, Mia Farrow wanted to have a biological child with Woody Allen, and he supposedly agreed to it as long as he didn't really have to like parent or anything, and she would do most of the work because he didn't really want kids. But he's like, I'll help you have a biological child. It didn't work. And so she ends up adopting Dylan. There was a biological child that Mia Farrow gave birth to, and that is Satchel Farrow, who was later known as Ronan Farrow, Dylan's brother. And he's supposedly the biological child of Woody Allen and Mia Farrow, but there's a lot of speculation. And Mia Farrow herself said it's very possible that it is Frank Sinatra's son. You look at his face and you look at Frank Sinatra, Mia Farrow, Woody Allen, you know what I mean? He looks like Frank Sinatra and Mia Farrow, but who knows? They had this arrangement where they lived apart, but they would be together. They worked together. They didn't live together. They were in a relationship. They traveled a lot together. Like, it was a very unique relationship. And then in 1991, Mia Farrow wanted to adopt another child. And apparently Woody Allen said that he wouldn't have any problems with her adopting another child as long as she let him officially adopt Dylan and Moses. Woody Allen did in 1991 officially become Dylan's father and Moses's father. Woody Allen is going to end up in a romantic relationship with Sunyi, who is his girlfriend, long-term girlfriend's daughter. And then he's also going to have allegations that he SA'd his actual adopted daughter, Dylan. At the time that Woody Allen entered Sunyi's life, she would have been around 10 years old. This is according to bone scans because they didn't have an official birth certificate when they adopted her from South Korea, but the bone scans put her at around 10. So at around 10 years old, he entered into her life as what many people say is a father figure. Now, he denies this. He's like, I was never a father to her. I didn't even live there, whatever. But that was how old she was. And there are many pictures with them together as a family out and about. And you can see that Sunyi is a child and Woody Allen is a grown-ass man. And he is literally in the role of her father when they're out in public as a family. The eyes can see this, okay? I don't want to sit here and have a debate about whether or not like that's what that was. My eyes work. What did Richard Pryor say? You going to believe me or your lying eyes?
As my partner, if we had had a marriage certificate, he would have been my husband and therefore on paper the stepfather of these children. And he always said that marriage is just a piece of paper. We didn't have that piece of paper, but we had a marriage-like relationship in every way. And as such, he was in my home as my life's partner with access to my children. I would have rather cut both my arms off than have had to tell Dylan that her father was sleeping with her sister or had become Sunyi's boyfriend. That's what her therapist made me tell her. In April, this was 3 months after his affair with Sunyi was discovered by me.
According to Sunyi, when she later on spoke, because they're still together, by the way, Woody Allen and Soon-Yi, there's a 35-year age difference between them. She claims that they didn't really interact until she had this foot injury when she was in 11th grade. And it was playing soccer, and that Woody Allen said, I can take you to school, because her foot was hurt or something. And then they started hanging out then, going to basketball games together. And that's sort of when their relationship developed. He would take her to Knicks games. Again, speculating, grooming. And in the 90s in New York, going to a Knicks game courtside, like all the celebrities are there. Like it's like if you're a freaking 11th grader, you want to be courtside at the Knicks game. So I don't know. Anyway, but that's again me speculating. So I don't know why I'm saying it like that. Here's where it gets weird, because she goes to summer camp, okay? And in summer camp, she actually was asked to leave because she was getting too many calls from this person known as Mr. Simon, who turns out was Woody Allen. So it's like, I bet you, what are you doing at the camp? I don't know. According to Soon-Yi and Woody Allen, they say after she turned 18, December 1991, that's the first time they had sex. There are other accounts from other people who were there who say it started way before that, but we don't know. Woody Allen and Soon-Yi say she was 21 before it even started, so we don't know. So now it's January 1992, and oh my God, imagine this. Mia Farrow discovers nude pictures of her daughter, Soon-Yi, that were taken by Woody Allen, her boyfriend, long-term partner, lover, whatever you want to call it. Imagine. I don't ever want to imagine that. So this is where everything goes to shit. After Mia Farrow discovered the photos, they broke up. August 4th, 1992 is when this incident allegedly occurs where Dylan is SA'd by Woody Allen. This was said to have taken place at the attic crawl space at Mia Farrow's home in Bridgewater, Connecticut, and that Woody Allen took Dylan to this crawl space and told her to lie on her stomach and play with this toy train set, and that he then touched her in her private genital area. Either the day of or the day after, Mia Farrow recorded Dylan asking her what happened and Dylan telling her what happened. And then she also takes her to a pediatrician, and they tell the pediatrician what happened, knowing that the pediatrician is like a mandatory reporter. And then the pediatrician reported the incident to police. About 10 days later, on August 17th, the Connecticut State Police started an investigation into the incident. And that same day that they announced this investigation is when Woody Allen also released a statement. In that statement, he said that he was in love with Soon-Yi Previn. He also said in an interview with Time magazine, quote, "I am not Soon-Yi's father or stepfather." He says, "I have never even lived with Mia. I've never in my entire life slept at Mia's apartment. And I never even used to go over there until my children came along 7 years ago. I never had any family dinners over there. I was not a father to her adopted kids in any sense of the word."
I went up and played with the kids, read them stories, did my usual things. We played out on the lawn and had a wonderful time with them.
Okay, we can argue the semantics of the technicality of whether or not that was his daughter, but the fact remains that you were in a romantic relationship with a woman, and then she has children, one of which is actually your daughter, and your daughter's sister, who is the daughter of your lover, is who you're with now. So that's what it really is, okay? However you want to twist it and shake it, that's what it is, okay? Now, the reason why he announced this at this time is to say basically this is a retaliation, a false allegation, because Mia Farrow's upset that he's in love with her daughter, Soon-Yi, and that she is making up this horrendous rumor that I did something inappropriate with my daughter with her because I got with her other daughter. Oh my God, are you keeping up? There were 3 adults who were present that day. There were 2 babysitters that were there. One of them said that, quote, Alan and Dylan went missing for 15 or 20 minutes while she was at the house. And another babysitter told police, also in a sworn statement, that she saw Woody Allen with his head on Dylan's lap, facing her body, while Dylan sat on a couch staring vacantly in the direction of a television set. I don't know what his head is doing in her lap while she, I don't know, that's very disturbing. A French tutor said that that day Dylan was wearing a sundress without any underwear underneath. So Woody Allen's response to this was to say, like, the babysitters are lying and they're all coached by Mia Farrow, and Dylan is coached by her mom. Like, they're all being coached and she's out to get me because she wants revenge. And so they asked him, the Connecticut State Police, to take a polygraph. He refused to take the one that they issued. Instead, he went and took a polygraph that was administered by someone that was hired by his legal team. And when he tried to submit that, the prosecutor and the investigators, they said, no, 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 we're not going to do that. You either do our official one or nothing at all. We're not going to count this one. So yes, he took a polygraph. When you hear about this being talked about, you'll hear like, he didn't take a polygraph. He did take a polygraph. Well, it's a little bit of both. He took a separate polygraph from a separate person that is not considered admissible because it's like a hired gun type of vibe. You know what I mean? Then there's this whole thing about Dylan's story, whether it changed or it didn't change. Because when I was doing research, it was like so many things were saying she never changed her story. And then you'll hear another side where they're like, actually, she did change her story. And when she did this interview later on as an adult, she talks about this incident that happened where she went to the pediatrician and she didn't point out her private area. Instead, she pointed out her shoulder when asked where Woody Allen touched her. And then she left with her mom, went back in, and then said the private area. And so when she was asked, like, why didn't you say private area at first? She was like, I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't want to. Once she did say that, she never changed her story and the details or anything. She maintained it the whole time. The thing with Woody Allen is that he was kind of caught in a lie because he said he'd never been to the attic ever. But then they were able to find some evidence there with like fibers and hair that show that he did go to the attic. And now we have this very, very controversial investigation that happened, and that is the Yale New Haven hospital investigation. This investigation is so strange because for me, I'm like, I can't get over this fact. The records and the notes, all the original ones, were destroyed. And then there's all this weird, like, I don't know, even the judge in the custody case that ensued was like, this was not a credible investigation. And yet it is cited by some as like conclusive and proof that whatever they concluded is correct. But again, it's a lot of, gray area in this stuff. And for some people, it's very black and white. But you know what I mean? While this investigation was going on, Woody Allen does this interview with 60 Minutes. This is November 22nd, 1992.
A gigantic industry has been built on a total non-event. Either she has been coached methodically to tell the story because...
By Mia.
By Mia, yeah. On many, many occasions, over the phone and in person, Mia had said to me, you took my daughter and I'm going to take yours.
Obviously, she was extremely upset about the fact that he was dating her daughter when he was her man. And then this is the part where I'm like, dude, read the room. Like, even the interviewer, who was trying so hard to be very like neutral about it, I noticed even at this point, he's like, dude, you don't see the connection. And he basically was like, I don't see the fact that me being in love with and dating Sunni somehow like makes people more likely to believe that I would do this to my daughter. And he's like, you don't see how dating your not stepdaughter makes it look like you would maybe do something inappropriate with your daughter. You don't see how that's connected whatsoever. And he's like, no, I don't.
And what about Sunni, who Allen has said he's deeply in love with and turned his life around? And what about the way Mia discovered their affair?
And she found out about it by finding some rather embarrassing pictures.
Yes. Correct. I mean, What is the question?
Did you have any reservations about it?
Reservations about what?
About getting involved with Sunni?
Did I have I didn't have reservations because I had this. It was a totally separate thing. What I'm getting at here is there has been an attempt to link my relationship with Sunni with charges of child molestation. They're two completely different things.
And then this is the part where I was like, whoa, this guy's either completely delusional or has no self-awareness, because then he starts asking him about like, oh, so this relationship with Sunni, it's something serious.
Is this still an ongoing relationship with you?
Yes, yes. I mean, she's away at school. She has a few years to go before she graduates, and that's what she's mostly focused on is getting her education. But yes, it is ongoing.
You're still seeing her. You see her on weekends, or?
Yeah, I see her when she gets off school. I'll see her on weekends. And
this middle-aged man who's talking about that he can only see his girlfriend on the weekends because she's at class, and he doesn't at all see how that makes him look like maybe he has some sort of inappropriate fascination with younger girls. I don't know. Anyway, so here's the thing. This is a taboo topic, no matter how you slice it. There's even a whole genre of corn, if you know what I mean, that's all about like stepfather and step this and step that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So now he tries to act like they're not step, but come on. The dynamics of that, you're in a relationship with this woman long term, you have kids with her that are yours, and these are kids from a previous relationship. In everyone's definition, that would be considered a stepdaughter, or at least a stepdaughter-like relationship. I don't know, man. That was the vibe where I was like, oh, okay, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining, because it smells like urine. And it's yellow. Remember when I told you about Annie Hall and Manhattan, his two movies that were like deemed as culturally and aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress? That happened in 1992 in December, which was literally like weeks after this interview. So they put these movies in the Library of Congress after the allegations came out. I think that's culturally and historically and aesthetically significant. I was like, the timeline of that, I was like, it had to be before, because those movies came out in the 70s. So I'm sure this was like, had to be. And then I'm like, oh no, it was literally weeks after the allegations. Okay, like 2 months after the allegation. Okay, cool. Those movies came out in the 70s. Why in 1992, within months of this shit going down, now you want to put it in the Library of Congress? Putting all that he said, she said aside, the part that is also the most unusual thing about this Yale New Haven hospital investigation is the fact that the original notes were destroyed. People suspect and speculate, allegedly, speculation, that that investigation was somehow compromised by the wealth and influence of the person who was under investigation, allegedly. Okay, speculating. So notes were destroyed, very weird. That investigation basically concluded that Dylan made it all up, wasn't telling the truth. And they were like, it could be a fantasy that she made up, or it could be that she was coached. And if she was coached, it would probably be by her mother, Mia Farrow. Remember, the Connecticut State Police are the ones who asked Yale New Haven to conduct this investigation, and the Connecticut State Prosecutor did not find the investigation reliable. Another thing that they say about this investigation is that there were no psychiatrists that were actually conducting this investigation. It was 2 social workers and a pediatrician, who's Dr. John Leventhal, and he signed off on the report, but he never actually spoke to Dylan or saw Dylan or Mia Farrow. My question, again, is, okay, why were the notes destroyed? The notes were probably made by the social workers then, right? They didn't testify and the notes were destroyed. What did the social workers see? What did they think? You know? Now, the crazy part is we wouldn't know a lot of this stuff if it wasn't for the custody battle that happened in 1993. As a matter of fact, that's what actually brought this all to the public the way that it did and made it explode. Because in this custody battle, all this previous stuff came out. And basically, it was Woody Allen who filed this lawsuit for custody of Dylan and also Moses as well as Satchel, who is now known as Ronan Farrow. So Moses is an adopted son. The judge in the custody case, Elliot Wilk, he is the one who wrote this scathing 33-page ruling, which I'll read you excerpts from. Before Mia Farrow found out about Sunyi, Woody Allen was already in therapy for being inappropriate towards Dylan, with the whole him making her suck his thumb or whatever. Ugh, just the thought of that makes me want to barf. And uh, uh, Mia Farrow told Woody Allen when Dylan was only 2 to 3 years old. Remember, these allegations in 1992 were when Dylan was 7. Apparently, she told Woody Allen, "You look at her in a sexual way about Dylan. You fondled her. You don't give her any breathing room. You look at her when she's naked." Okay. Oh my God. This is what Judge Wilk wrote. He wrote, "There is no credible evidence to support Mr. Allen's contention that Ms. Farrow coached Dylan or that Ms. Farrow acted upon a desire for revenge against him for seducing Sunyi. Mr. Allen's resort to the stereotypical woman-scorned defense is an injudicious attempt to divert attention from his failure to act as a responsible parent and adult." Damn, that is quite scathing, but there's more. "I have also considered the report of the Yale New Haven team and the deposition testimony of Dr. John M. Leventhal. The Yale New Haven investigation was conducted over a 6-month period by Dr. Leventhal, a pediatrician, Dr. Julia Hamilton, who has a PhD in social work, and Ms. Jennifer Sawyer, who has a master's degree in social work. Responsibility for different aspects of the investigation was divided among the team. The notes of the team were destroyed prior to the issuance of the report, which presumably is an amalgamation of their independent impressions and observations. The unavailability of the notes, together with their unwillingness to testify at this trial, except through the deposition of Dr. Leventhal, compromised my ability to scrutinize their findings and resulted in a report which was sanitized and therefore less credible." He writes, "Ms. Farrow is not faultless as a parent. It seems probable, although there is no credible testimony to this effect, that prior to the affair with Mr. Allen, Sunyi was experiencing problems for which Ms. Farrow was unable to provide adequate support. There is also evidence that there were problems with her relationship with Dylan and Satchel. We do not, however, demand perfection as a qualification for parenting. Ironically, Ms. Farrow's principal shortcoming with respect to responsible parenting appears to have been her continued relationship with Mr. Allen." Damn. He continues, "Mr. Allen's response to Dylan's claim of SA was an attack upon Ms. Farrow, whose parenting ability and emotional stability he impugned without the support of any significant credible evidence. His trial strategy has been to separate his children from their brothers and sisters, to turn the children against their mother, to divide adopted children from biological children, oh my God, to incite the family against their household help, and to set household employees against each other. His self-absorption, his lack of judgment, and his commitment to the continuation of his divisive assault, thereby impeding the healing of injuries that he has already caused, warrant a careful monitoring of his future contact with the children." Wow. This is divide and conquer type shit. "I agree with Dr. Herman and Dr. Brodzinski that we will probably never know what occurred on August 4th, 1992. The credible testimony of Ms. Farrow, Dr. Coates, Dr. Leventhal, and Mr. Allen does, however, prove that Mr. Allen's behavior toward Dylan was grossly inappropriate and that measures must be taken to protect her." During this ruling, they also denied Woody Allen immediate visitation with Dylan, and then he appealed and it went all the way up and they upheld it. So that custody ruling, that happened in June. September of 1993, the prosecutor in the allegations, the SA allegations case, said that they did have probable cause to prosecute Woody Allen, but that he didn't want to go forward with it because he didn't want to traumatize Dylan, because they would really need her testimony to use as evidence, that it just would really hinge on her testimony because of all these different, like the investigation and the conflicting stuff. And he didn't want to do that. And so he declined charges. It was another investigation. that was done into the allegations. This investigation was done by the New York Department of Social Services, and it was a separate 14-month investigation, and they also found, quote, no credible evidence of abuse, and they said that Dylan's allegation was unfounded. So, no charges, 2 investigations, both concluding he didn't do anything. But then you've got that scathing report from the judge. And so you basically have this gray area where some people think he's being smeared and woman scorned and all that, and Mia Farrow's lying and she coached her daughter. And then other people are like, we believe Dylan, we believe Mia Farrow, especially with the whole Sun Yi relationship that didn't really help. And so here is where we have a major turning point. It seemed like he was kind of being shunned a little bit in Hollywood, but not really. And why is that? Well, have you heard of this guy? His name is Harvey Weinstein. Yes, that Harvey. Well, at this time in the early to mid 90s, he was pretty influential. His company Miramax had a lot of sway, and he decided that he was going to take Woody Allen under his wing and make sure that he was not shunned by Hollywood. And he even said in this quote, he said, "Shunned by Hollywood means nothing to Miramax." This is what he told the LA Times. He says, "We're talking about a comic genius." Miramax ends up making deals with Woody Allen for movies, and throughout the 90s, he's able to still work.
Enormous publicity generated by this story has hastened the release of Allen's new movie, Husbands and Wives. Originally scheduled to open September 23rd in only 8 cities, the film will now open coast to coast September the 18th.
And knowing what we know about Harvey Weinstein, just like knowing what we know about Epstein, and seeing how close they both are to Woody Allen, you know that saying, how does it go? Birds of a feather flock together. You know, maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's like, what the flock? I thought about that in the shower and I thought it was so funny. I was like, oh my God, what the flock? Oh, genius. That's comic genius. It's debatable. Anyway, so that's what happened in the mid 90s. Now it's 1997. And this is when Woody Allen and Sun Yi get married.
Of course, we have no idea if Mr. Allen plans to marry Sun Yi, but if he does, that would make Mia Farrow his mother-in-law.
It's very, the dynamic, there's a dynamic there. And, that's the weird thing about Woody Allen when they ask him about, like, how are you in love with her? What do you talk about? And he actually said, and this is the part where I'm like, is he lacking self-awareness or is he just laughing in our faces? Because he's like, he liked that there was this, quote, paternal nature to their relationship and that she sort of deferred to him. And I thought, of course. Of course. It's the power dynamics. When Woody Allen was 90 years old, because he's in his 90s now, she was 55. So let me do the math because I got that billionaire in my last video, Deepak Chopra. Let's not talk about the fact that I thought that 80 million was almost a billionaire. You guys rightfully so corrected me. And it got to the point where I'm like, I just can't look at the comments anymore because literally every other comment is people telling me like that. I know, I'm sorry, I know. So yeah, let me use a calculator because I don't trust myself, mathematically. You know what I mean? Like, you think this is simple math, and it is. It is simple math. And I struggle with that, and that's okay. I can't be perfect, you guys. Everything else, I'm perfect. So there's a 35 age difference between them. When you read articles and stuff, they talk about like Woody Allen's, cancellation. And I'm like, what cancellation? He didn't really get actual real backlash until 2017 during the, I burped, Me Too movement. In 1998, so, just a few years after the whole thing that happened in 1992, he had an Oscar nomination. 1998 for Best Writing Screenplay for the movie Deconstructing Harry, which came out in 1997. And he didn't win the award. He lost to Matt Damon and Ben Affleck for Good Will Hunting, which is like this huge movie. So what cancellation are we talking about? When he had movies with Miramax throughout the entire time. Like, I don't understand when I look at that meme where the Italian guys where they're like, what Marta? What murder?
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
That's what I felt when I saw this, and they were like, cancellation. I'm like, what cancellation? What cancellation? Everybody loved him. He was a great guy. The thing with Woody Allen is like he's nominated for so many Oscars, but he like barely ever attends. He's like, I'm not into it. He did attend in 2002, okay, and he got a standing ovation. So again, what cancellation? Because correct me if I'm wrong, standing ovation is like very much peer pressure, right? So again, if there was this sort of group pressure to cancel him, there wouldn't be pressure for a standing ovation. That's the complete opposite. So again, what cancellation? 2005, he gets another Oscar nomination, okay, for Match Point, this movie he did with Scarlett Johansson, and it was one of his most successful movies. They said like it did really well in the box office compared to how much it cost and all that. And then we have a very interesting thing that happens in 2009, which remember when I told you birds of a feather flock together? Okay, this is really what the flock, because in 2009, Woody Allen signs a petition for the release of film director Roman Polanski. You heard of him? Do you know his fucking backstory? How he was with a 13-year-old? 13, not barely legal, 17, like all that. He was charged in Switzerland, 1977, drugging and R-wording a 13-year-old girl. So in 2009, Woody Allen signs this petition to say, free this man who did this to the 13-year-old girl. Well, she's 13. They were in love. She wanted it. Okay, allegedly, he didn't say all that. I made that up. I'm just saying he signed the petition, okay? And then a year after that, in 2010, is when we have our official, what we officially know, could be even earlier than that, is when the relationship with Epstein began. So again, what the flock, right? Birds of a feather flock together. You've got Harvey Weinstein saving his career. He's trying to get Roman Polanski out of prison. He's now getting buddy-buddy with Epstein, who we know what Epstein's doing. He's got his own allegations against him. Do you know where there's smoke? I don't know. Maybe there's nothing. Maybe there's just smoke. There's no fire. So anyway, so let's talk about the Epstein connection, because that is extensive and so much worse. Like they tried to downplay it in 2023. He totally lied about the extent of their relationship. Then he got real cocky in 2025 when some things were released talking about, I'm not sorry. There's this article, is it in the New York Times or something, where they're like, Woody Allen is not sorry about his connections to Epstein. And then in 2026, this recent drop, it was like, all the articles are like, we reached out and there's no comment, no comment, no comment. It was no longer, sorry, not sorry type of vibe. 2010, by the way, this is 2 years after Jeffrey Epstein's conviction for child prostitution. According to the Epstein files, they met with each other around at least 100 times. First, we have a flight log. This is May 17th, 2012 on the Lolita Express. So here we have this passenger manifest. And it shows here that this was from JFK, New York to Paris, March 17th, 2012. And you have Epstein, Woody Allen, Sun Yi, and then everyone else is redacted. And there are 9 passengers. And a lot of these redactions are usually victims. According to CBS, it says here, quote from CBS, a source familiar with the flight logs told CBS News that some of the flights with Allen and Previn also include the names of known victims who frequently traveled with Epstein, but those passenger names are redacted in the logs that were released. In a lot of these articles, when the publicist was responding to their connections and the pictures and stuff, they were like, oh, well, they were just neighbors, and every single time that they met, almost every single time, or I think they even said every single time, Sun Yi was there. As if like, if Sun Yi is there, then nothing nefarious can go on because they wouldn't be doing that in front of his wife. So is Sun Yi being there a deterrent to young underage girls being there on this plane that's known for doing certain things? I don't know. You decide. Well, if you look at the emails, okay, Sun Yi allegedly, I'm sorry to say this, this is my opinion, speculating, total pick me, all right? total pick me in like she's going harder than they are about some of this stuff. And this is my least favorite like reality of life that is just so I hate the fact that this is true. But like most perpetrators were originally victims. And this is very, very true in the Epstein case as well. Like a lot of the girls and who then became women who were facilitating this shit for Epstein and these elites were originally victims who then became perpetrators. And in my eyes, you know, I view Sunyi as a victim. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Pick me vibes. If you don't know what that means, that's when to be picked. Like I'm not like the other girls. You know, other girls are like that, but I don't do that so that you seem like more desirable in men's eyes in a way that puts down other women. That's what I take pick me to mean. Maybe I'm wrong. And the concept of the name is like, hey, pick me over them because I'm like, you know what I mean? Starts with Sunyi. She September 22nd, 2016, 7:02 a.m. Sunyi emails this link from an article in the Daily Mail to Epstein, and it's titled Anthony Weiner had months-long sexting relationship with 15-year-old girl. Okay, and there's a link. Interesting that they're talking about this particular subject, huh? Why is this a subject of conversation with them? And anyway, so he responds, Jeffrey Epstein, and he just says, wow. And then she responds and she says, I know, it's an incredible story. You have to feel sorry for him. He can't seem to learn. Most importantly, I feel sorry for his wife. I also thought it was disgusting what that 15-year-old did to him. I hate women. She's 15. She's not a woman, but okay. I hate women who take advantage of guys, and she is definitely one of them. She knew exactly what she was doing and how vulnerable Weiner was, and she reeled him in like fish to bait. It's also laughable when she says in her letter that she is putting it out there to help him. How does it help him? It only humiliates him. We know his excuse that he has a sickness. What is her excuse for being a despicable and disgusting person who preys on the weak? We know he's sick, but she's also sick to have done this to him. She's so manipulative on her part. She should be ashamed of herself. Epstein responds to that. He goes, I'm not sure that a person's sex life, no matter who they are, can withstand disclosures, exaggerations, etc. He can't spell for shit, and he does not have spell check or he ignores it. He hasn't had sex in a year. What is he supposed to do? He can't have a girlfriend, can't have a hooker. So he thought he was safe. Oh my God, what a poor guy. He can't have a hooker, can't have a girlfriend. Can he at least get a 15-year-old? She responds, she goes, he thought he was safe with a 15-year-old over the internet, something he was caught doing many times or at least twice before. It doesn't make any sense. Guess what Woody and I talked about on our walk home? I got to the bottom of the women. I'm not good at letting things go. Woody has a very hard life with me. Let's just say Woody is a smooth talker so he can get himself out of anything. So I said, oh, okay, what are we talking about here? Seems like she's got some information about something with women. And then Epstein goes, haha, I knew he was in for the third-degree interrogation, the Korean waterboard. And she goes, very funny. I would have it no other way. I like things clarified. You knew I wasn't going to let that pass. And then Epstein goes, I thought the chocolate cake would ease his pain. It was obvious when instead of saying, would you like more lasagna, you asked if he would like some more Asian. Anyway, now we have a very, very disturbing email from March 20th, 2012. And this here, okay, it's sent by someone called Ismo. But you'll see that through other emails and this very horrible redaction that I'm almost like, did they do this on purpose? Or do they want people to know that Ismo is Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother? Because look at this redaction. Either they didn't give a fuck on purpose or on accident. I don't know. Starting on March 20th, 2012, Ismo, who is Mark Epstein, says, when we were kids and Seymour used to take a bath, he used to call Paula in to wash my back. Do you think he wanted his back washed? And then Jeffrey Epstein says, ah. And then Ismo responds, funny, huh? Where are you? And then Jeffrey Epstein says, Paris with Woody Allen. And then Ismo, Mark Epstein responds, for les or les pédophiles convention. And then the response from Jeffrey Epstein is, I think pédophile is the plural, whatever, I'm trying to do French accent horribly. So what's going on here? Hello? What the flock? You know what I'm saying? What the flock? You, or are we just going to act like that's, oh, it's just a joke. Just a joke. So we've got a flight log, we've got emails, we've got this convention that they're talking about, this PDF file, as people say now. Weird. There's more. So also on this Lolita Express, you've got photographs of Woody Allen with Larry Summers. And apparently the woman in this photograph is Larry Summers' wife, Eliza New. We also have flight logs here that coincide with this. And then we also have the return, which is on the 18th of February from West Palm Beach to New Jersey. So Woody Allen was Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor in New York. So not only did he visit him there countless times, but also to the different homes that he had. Like we saw when they go to Palm Beach, he's got a home in Palm Beach. And then usually from there, they fly to, the island, because there's also them talking about the Caribbean. So Epstein inviting Elon Musk to the Caribbean for Christmas. This is November 2013. And he says that he's with Woody Allen. And then there's also a flight log that is showing them potentially coming back from this trip on New Year's Day 2014, because this was Christmas 2013, So the email here, it's from Elon Musk to Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, sorry. It's from Jeffrey Epstein to Elon Musk. And he says, will you come to Caribbean this Christmas? Woody Allen with me, you might enjoy. Is this the island? We don't know. And then Elon Musk says, yes. We have a flight log here. This is from New Year's Day 2014. And it's got Jeffrey Epstein on here with Woody Allen and Sunyi. So if you look at the fact that they were in the Caribbean for Christmas, so maybe they were at the island, there's two people that are redacted here. Don't know who they are. But you've got Jeffrey Epstein, Woody Allen, and Sunyi Previn. So now we're in January of 2014. He received the Golden Globe Cecil B. DeMille Award for Lifetime Achievement. What cancellation? Again, what cancellation? What murder? I've been saying that so much. That and what the flock, like to myself alone. It's okay. No problem. Don't worry. It's fine. I'm okay with it. There's no one else here. When Woody Allen received this Golden Globe Lifetime Achievement Award, Mia Farrow and Ronan Farrow, they spoke out about it and against it. Then there was this open letter that was written by Dylan Farrow. Dylan starts off saying, what's your favorite Woody Allen movie? Before you answer, you should know, when I was 7 years old, Woody Allen took me by the hand and led me into a dim, closet-like attic on the second floor of our house. He told me to lay on my stomach and play with my brother's electric train set. Then he essayed me. He talked to me while he did it, whispering that I was a good girl. Oh my God, that this was our secret, promising that we'd go to Paris and I'd be a star in his movies. I remember staring at that toy train, focusing on it as it traveled in its circle around the attic. To this day, I find it difficult to look at toy trains. I didn't like it when I had to get in bed with him, under the sheets when he was in his underwear. I didn't like it when he would place his head in my naked lap and breathe in and breathe out. I would hide under beds or lock myself in the bathroom to avoid these encounters, but he always found me. These things happen so often, so routinely, so skillfully hidden from a mother that would have protected me had she known, that I thought it was normal. Woody Allen was never convicted of any crime. That he got away with what he did to me haunted me as I grew up. I was stricken with guilt that I had allowed him to be near other little girls. I was terrified of being touched by men. I developed an eating disorder. I began cutting myself. That torment was made worse by Hollywood. Last week, Woody Allen was nominated for his latest Oscar. But this time, I refused to fall apart. For so long, Woody Allen's acceptance silenced me. It felt like a personal rebuke, like the awards and accolades were a way to tell me to shut up and go away. What if it had been your child, Kate Blanchett, Louis C.K., Alec Baldwin? What if it had been you, Emma Stone, or you, Scarlett Johansson? You knew me when I was a little girl, Diane Keaton. Have you forgotten me? Woody Allen is a living testament to the way our society fails the survivors of SA and abuse. So imagine your 7-year-old daughter being led into an attic by Woody Allen. Imagine she spends a lifetime stricken with nausea at the mention of his name. Imagine a world that celebrates her tormentor. Are you imagining that? Now, what's your favorite Woody Allen movie? Less than a week later, the New York Times published this op-ed by Woody Allen where it's titled Woody Allen Speaks Out by Woody Allen. He basically says, 21 years ago, he said, the idea is so ludicrous, I didn't give it a second thought. We were involved in a terribly acrimonious breakup and the custody battle. And he says that she was malevolent towards him, that he thought that it was so obvious that she was lying, he didn't even hire a lawyer. He thought that the accusation would be dismissed because he hadn't done it, and any rational person would see it for the ploy that it was, and that common sense would prevail. After all, he was a 56-year-old man who had never been accused of this thing, so now that he's been accused of it, it's impossible. I mean, he didn't say that, but that's what he's alluding to. And then he said he'd been going out with Mia for 12 years. She never said anything about that. He also talks about Ronan, who Ronan is taking Dylan's side, and he's like, that's not even my son. Like, that's probably Frank Sinatra's son. You know, he's like, I don't think that she doesn't believe that it happened. He's like, she's just basically been brainwashed to believe that it happened, but it didn't actually happen. So he denied it. Several weeks after Woody Allen responded in the New York Times, he was on the Lolita Express again with Sun Yi and Epstein and other redacted people. And I'm assuming they're going to Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. But what we have for sure are 2 flight logs. One is from Oakland to Albuquerque. This is why I'm assuming it could be Zorro Ranch, because they're going to Albuquerque, and we know that there's that ranch in New Mexico. So here it's March 23rd, 2014, from Oakland to Albuquerque, and it's Jeffrey Epstein, 2 redacted people, Woody Allen, Sun Yi, and then for 6, 7, and 8 passenger, there's just 111. Not sure what that is. If they're like kids or something, like Woody and Sun Yi's kids, because they have adopted daughters as well. From Albuquerque to New Jersey. And same thing, it says here, Jeffrey Epstein, someone redacted, Woody Allen, Sun Yi, 1, and then 1 nanny. So maybe those are their 2 daughters, Woody Allen and Sun Yi's daughters. So while he is being celebrated by Hollywood, and while he is denying the allegations of what he did with Dylan, he is also at the same time on the Lolita Express with Jeffrey Epstein and some much younger female that's with him. And so I don't know if that means anything or not, but those are the facts. And so now it's 2015. And in 2015, again, what cancellation? Because he's at the Cannes Film Festival to promote a show that he has with Amazon. On May 27th, 2015, we have a very interesting email exchange where Jeffrey Epstein is basically setting up a White House tour with his contact at the White House, which we need to talk about that too. This is Catherine Rumler, the former Obama White House counsel. She worked with a bank at first, and they were like, oh, her capacity with Jeffrey Epstein was like working with him, you know, through the bank, just with the accounts. But then she's at the White House, and this is during the Obama administration, and he's sending her, let's look at the emails. Okay, so here we have an email. It's from Jeffrey Epstein. And he says, I'm thinking of a Washington, D.C. trip with Woody and Sun Yi. Thoughts? Anyone they should meet? Maybe next Thursday or Friday. And Kathy Rumler responds and she goes, Elena Kagan? And then Jeffrey Epstein responds and goes, maybe. Anyone fun? Meaning this person isn't fun. Okay. Any of your friends that might find it amusing? Interesting. Would be funny to trick him into going to the Holocaust Museum. He'd freak. Could you show Sun Yi the White House? I assume Woody would be politically sensitive. ? We will be going to museums. And then Kathy responds, May 27, 2015. She says, David Gregory and Beth Wilkinson would be fun. David is really funny. I am sure I could show both of them the White House. I'll check with Valerie if you want. You are too politically sensitive, I think. White House records confirmed that they did actually visit the White House, Woody Allen and Sun Yi, on December 27th of that year, so 2015, and it says while President Obama was in Hawaii. Now it's January 2016, a month later. And there's this letter that Woody Allen sends Jeffrey Epstein for his 63rd birthday. It's basically this typewritten letter that's signed. It says, being neighbors, my wife Sunia and I have been invited for dinner many times, always except, always interesting. Wide variety of interesting people at every dinner just about. Politicians, scientists, teachers, magicians, comedians, intellectuals, journalists, and an entomologist, a concert pianist. Anyhow, it's always interesting and the food is sumptuous and abundant. Indeed. Lots of dishes, plenty of choices, numerous desserts, well served. I say well served. Often it's by some professional houseman, and just as often by several young women. Remding, one of Remding, one of Castle Dracula. Or is it reminding? I think it's supposed to be reminding. He's doing the typewriter thing, like vintage vibes. Reminding one of Castle Dracula, where Lugosi has 3 young female vampires who service the place. Add to this that Jeffrey lives in a vast house alone. One can picture him sleeping in damp earth. But back to the food. Dependably, a fine dinner, but this was always not the case. In fact, when we first came out, okay, nobody cares. The part about the young women servicing in the Castle Dracula, that's a little concerning. But again, maybe it's nothing. And then, there are photographs of Woody Allen at the home, and there's like a girl or female, we don't know her age, but she's redacted. She's sitting there with them. And there's another photo, and I don't think Woody Allen is there, but it's a photo of Epstein surrounded by 3 girls. I mean, 2 of them definitely look young. One, I don't know, maybe she's in her 20s or older, can't tell. But it just gives you, when you think about the 3 girls, young girls servicing him and the vibe and like that photo and what Woody Allen is describing, I feel like that gives us a bit of a visual. And when you think about sitting there and looking at that, knowing his conviction, knowing your allegations, the context of everything, you're here with your wife, that was your, ex's daughter. It really, at the very least, they have a high tolerance for this shit. At the very least. If not condoning and maybe allegedly, potentially, possibly participating. Maybe. Speculating. And then also in 2016, we have the whoops email. Now, this video is not sponsored. Duh. But I have a Patreon. You may have heard of it. I have a song about it in previous videos. Very good. But in this Patreon video I did, my most recent one actually is about whoops. Whoops, they're all dead. Or whoops, they're all dead. Get it? Like whoop, there it is. That was doesn't translate maybe. I don't know. Whatever. It's Patreon. I can do these things over there. Point is, whoops is very suspiciously used in these emails. And here we have another whoops. Now, it could be something, it could be nothing. Maybe if you want to check out my Patreon free trial for some context or not, it's fine. I'll read you the email that I'm talking about here in any case. Jeffrey Epstein, this is May 12th, 2016. He writes to Sun Yi, he says, just read the reports. Whoops, I'm in Paris. Come visit. And she goes, very tempting. I wish we could. Sent from Sun Yi's phone. The article that they're talking about, the reports, when you check the dates and stuff, Ronan Farrow, Dylan Farrow's brother, Woody Allen's son, on May 11th, so a day before this email was written, published this article or open letter where he said, my father, Woody Allen, and the danger of questions unasked. And it's a guest column where he's basically talking about the PR engine and how Woody Allen was essentially protected by the media. A lot of actors that worked with him were now being asked in the aftermath of this about their relationship with Woody Allen. Kristen Stewart was asked about her relationship with Woody Allen, and she says, we don't know any of these people involved. I can personalize situations which would be very wrong. Diane Keaton, remember when Diane Keaton was called out by Dylan in that open letter when she says, have you forgotten me? You knew me when I was a little girl. Diane Keaton responded by just saying, I believe my friend. Scarlett Johansson, She was in that movie Match Point. When this all came out in Back Again, she was asked about her relationship with Woody Allen, and she says, I don't support this lifestyle or whatever. I mean, it's all guesswork. It would be ridiculous for me to make any kind of assumption one way or the other. Kate Blanchett said, it's obviously been a long and painful situation for the family, and I hope they find some sort of resolution and peace. So, you know, the tale as old as time. Actually, Beauty and the Beast. But the whole, it's a family issue. It's a family issue. When they start asking for help and involving the police and writing open letters and being like, help, it's no longer a family issue. It's a cry for help. But everyone's like, yeah, this is really uncomfortable. I'm making a lot of money from this guy. It's a family issue. Let's go back to the Epstein stuff because there's a lot more where that came from. So now it is May 25th, 2016. So just a few weeks since that whole article thing in the Whoops email, and they're talking about what's going on. They're comparing this to the Bill Cosby scandal, which was going on at the time. So this is May 25th, 2016, 5:30 a.m. And Jeffrey Epstein says, would you guys like to join Chomsky's Friday night dinner? If we can't get the makeup person for Saturday, we can try a better weekend. Cosby thing is a result of him fighting back in the press. And so Sunyi responds and she says, can I get back to you? And then Jeffrey Epstein says, you can decide at the last minute. Cosby, whether guilty or not, is being burned at the stake. And then Sunyi says, they all want blood. Epstein goes, have to be careful. The crowd needs a witch to burn, and there are not many left. And so this is from Sunyi, but she's stating that it's actually from Woody. So it's from Woody. Agree on Salem atmosphere, but my situation is so radically different than Cosby's that while I do expect and get many ugly, unfair accusations, he has to battle 50 women and criminal charges. I have one irate mother whose case was investigated and discredited, and I no criminal charges ever did or could come my way. And yet I do receive a huge amount of flack. What flack? Much of it because she has good press connections and I have none. And then Jeffrey Epstein responds, he goes, it's not about Dylan. It is about Sunyi, I think is what he's saying, because they redacted Sunyi. But a publicly broken taboo. Everything else is noise. Exactly. Jeffrey Epstein just named it. Exactly. It's a publicly broken taboo. It's fucking weird, bro. Stop acting like it's not. And then Woody responds and says, if this is about blank, there's nothing to be done. I'm certainly not going to dump her, and I'm not going to apologize because I don't feel either of us did anything that we have to apologize for. Our romantic life is our business and not the business of the public. So it's a hopeless situation because there's no way out if that's what they're holding against us. Woody. Epstein goes, I agree. Nothing for the moment can be done except enjoying yourself and living well. In a storm, it's silly to stick your head out of the window. Just stay inside. Yes, some actors or actresses might decline a role, but so what? No danger. Woody responds, agreed, although I would like my side out there. May be wrong, but a case can be made for not being swift-boated by taking the high road, noble but ineffective, as also witnessed by those who let themselves be steamrolled by the Donald. And then Sunyi responds, Woody meant to say the Donald, not the Don, because it's like a typo with an S instead of an A, in case you couldn't figure it out, winky face. And then here, there's another version of it with unredacted. That's how you can see it's Sunyi's phone. That's such a thing that's so annoying, is like the redactions are different and there's different data sets and this and that. So it's like when there's a search string, we have to get several versions to see what it actually is. And oh my God, it's so much. But if we look at this one, and then sometimes it'll be like different threads, so there'll be a little bit more in one versus the other. Look, for example, here, he doesn't respond to the correction about the Donald. Instead, Epstein responds to this one message where he's saying that, this is our business, our romantic life, and he says about the storm. And then Jeffrey Epstein sends another email saying, get you at 12. And then Sunyi just responds and she says, was this for me? I can't tell in your cryptic writing. And I thought that was interesting to include about cryptic writing because he does speak cryptically. So when we talk about different things and words like whoops and things like that, and tiger, like with the Deepak video I did, and yes, like there is cryptic writing. And here, we could use this as a potential example of acknowledgement of said cryptic writing, alleged law. Allegedly. I don't know why I'm saying allegedly. Like, that needs to stop. Like, that's annoying. I don't know why I started. I need to stop. Then I say it out loud to myself too. It's like, please, let's not make that a thing. It's already becoming one. It's very upsetting. Anyway, I just got very annoyed with myself. What else is new? Okay. La 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 li 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 da 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 da. Do you guys remember, like, a long time ago, I even mentioned it in a very old video, like years ago, about the Wayfair conspiracy theory, where they were saying, like, there were these pieces of furniture that had names of girls that went missing, young girls, and that they were being sold on the Wayfair website for like a crazy amount of money for what the item was, like way overpriced. And that was where the Wayfair conspiracy, that it was like a cover for like human trafficking. And I briefly mentioned it. I never actually made a video on it. It seemed to have been debunked and other things came up. Like, I never made a video about it. Well, now with these emails with Epstein, the conspiracy is back up again, because there are these emails with Woody Allen's assistant and Sunyi and Epstein about these gifts from Wayfair, this like set of chairs, and people are saying it's nothing, people are saying it's something, and basically what it is the amount of money is what is making me kind of think it's not really a big deal. But and if you look through Epstein's emails, like if you put Wayfair in, he ordered so many things from Wayfair, like actual furniture. And like some of it was, it seems like actual furniture. And it's just weird because basically it's like Woody Allen, it starts in 2016 where Woody Allen's assistant basically is like, Woody has been eyeing these chairs for his birthday. He wanted a set of 6 pairs for 12 chairs total. And then there's a link and they put the total price. It's $1,799.94. And there's free shipping on Wayfair right now. And I don't know. I just feel like that's a normal price for chairs. And it's for Epstein to buy. So it wouldn't be like Epstein is purchasing, Woody's purchasing this from Epstein. You understand? Like, I don't know. It might just be about the chairs, but it goes back and forth, and people are finding it odd because like so many people are talking about it, and they're like going back and forth, and they're like, the chairs are coming November 9th, and I'm watching the status. I'll keep you posted. And different assistants are on it, and then they're like, I spoke to Wayfair. They have confirmed he should receive the chairs Thursday, November 10th. I let them know, confirmed with the housekeeper. And then they're like, I'll keep my eye on it. And then Epstein then was like actually monitoring and be like, Woody's chairs are still at the warehouse. And I checked the order. They have not left the warehouse. And they're saying that like, it's weird because Woody Allen's birthday is November 30th, and they're like, it's only November 10th, and they're babysitting the tracking like it needs to be there very soon, but they're like 20 days out. So it's not like they're going to be late. I don't know. So people are like, is it really a set of chairs or is it something else for his birthday? You know what I mean? Like human trafficking type shit. So the next thing we have is the Bard College scandal. This I find very interesting because it shows you how connected and how things go, okay? Because Bard College, okay, the president of Bard College is this guy called Leon Botstein, and he is supposedly a long-term friend of Epstein's. When you search his name in the files, the contact goes back to like 2013. So the first one we have here, this is November 2nd at 11 a.m. It's from Jeffrey Epstein to Sunyi, and it just says president. Here, Jeffrey Epstein says, Leon, the daughter of Sunyi and Woody Allen, Beckett Allen, would like to consider Bard for college. Could you be so kind as to coordinate a trip with Sunyi, who is copied on this email? Hope to see you soon. After that, we have also on November 2nd, the president, here, it's redacted. We're assuming it is Leon. And he sends this to Jeffrey Epstein with the forward, the subject is forward Bard / Beckett ? And Beckett is, you know, Sunyi and Woody Allen's daughter. So here we have this forwarded message from Sunyi to the president. Thank you so much for your offer to help our daughter, Beckett Allen, get into Bard College. I will take you up on the offer. Beckett is supposed to come look at college on Saturday. She has a campus tour at 12. If you would like us to meet you on that day, most helpful. We're open to your ideas and suggestions. Anything you feel would be helpful. Your advice is greatly appreciated. Tell us how to proceed. I'm going to take you up on the offer of seeing that everything is arranged, Winky Face. Thank you. I'm looking forward to hearing back on this matter. And then that was 6:17 p.m. November 2nd, 2016. Leon Botstein responds 7:45, so a little over an hour, like an hour and a half later, saying, Dear Sunyi, I will be on campus on the 19th. I'm sure we can find a time to meet with Beckett and you. I'm looking forward to it. And then that is forwarded from Leon Botstein to Epstein, like, hey, this happened. We did that. Like, I did the favor you asked me. Then when we look at some text messages from January 12th, 2017, remember this happened in November 2016. So a few months later, we have text exchange here, Woody Allen, and we know that Sunyi and Woody Allen, like, text from Woody Allen's phone a lot. Like they both text from like the similar device sometimes. So it says Woody Allen, but this is Sunyi talking is what I'm trying to say. And so sends this text saying, I can't thank you enough for getting Beckett into Bard. I couldn't be effusive enough because I was down in the kitchen having dinner with Manzi. I didn't want her to hear. I think it's best that Beckett struggles and doesn't know ahead of time that she got in so that when she gets into Bard, she will have sweated it out a bit and will really want to go. Thank you for coming through for us. I can't tell you how much this means to me. Woody said when Beckett sets fire to the school, they'll have you to thank. There's so much I want to say about that. I can't even begin to tell you. You know, a lot of these things, they act like, oh, they earned it. I mean, it's crazy because like the daughter might not even know that they did this behind her back. So a few months later, it's 2017. And what do we have? Again, another standing ovation. This time, June 8th, 2017, Woody Allen is presenting Diane Keaton with the Lifetime Achievement Award, and he gets a standing ovation.
She's never succumbed to any face work or anything. She prefers to look old. Books. I didn't know, for instance, that she loved me as much as she loved me. I didn't know she was bulimic. We'd have dinner. She'd tell me that she loved me, and then she'd throw up. Diane Keaton, the winner of the 45th AFI Lifetime Achievement Award.
Now here's where the tides turn. This is where there might actually have been a cancellation, and that is what happened 2017, 2018. Do you guys remember? The Me Too movement. Yes. Remember when I told you back in the early 90s, who kept Woody Allen's career alive? Harvey Weinstein. And we know that Harvey Weinstein, they were already talking about Bill Cosby. That was all the beginnings in the Me Too movement. Also, in 2018, Dylan Farrow does this interview with Gayle King on CBS. And in this interview, she basically reiterates everything she said. And again, whenever they do these interviews or write these letters or things like that, it basically brings everything back up again. So this is not too long after Dylan Farrow does that interview with Gayle King. And so Sunyi then sends this email to Epstein, January 25th, and it's just a forwarded message with the article subject says, just as the Me Too movement has gone too far, so has Botox. I thought the camels needed S-Peel. I hope Woody has a plan before the Academy Awards. Now, based on that, the camel reference, the S-Peel, the plan, getting work done before the Academy Awards, I'm pretty sure this has to do with the scandal that happened that I remember hearing about, where in the Gulf, like Saudi Arabia, I forget, I think it was in Saudi Arabia, in one of the Gulf countries, they have these camel beauty pageants, and there was a scandal where the camel was disqualified because it had Botox. And I think this is what it's talking about. Just as the Me Too movement has gone too far, so has Botox. And then Epstein responds, I thought the camels needed S-Peel. This is an ongoing issue. And I found articles recently, like from last month, where 20 camels were disqualified from this pageant, the recent one, 20 for having fillers and Botox. And I just had to tell somebody that. And I can't believe the shit that's coming out of my mouth. These are facts. These are actual facts. Like, camels have Botox. Okay, this is totally off topic, but I had to share that. Timothy Chalamet, who was in one of the movies with Woody Allen, by the time that the movie came out, the Me Too movement was like in full swing, and everyone was talking about Woody Allen, and they couldn't do an interview without being like questioned about him and all the allegations that had come back up again. And so in response to this, Timothy Chalamet, as well as other Selena Gomez and Rebecca Hall, they openly said that they're going to donate the money that they made, their salaries for starring in the movie, to, I think it's like Time's Up or one of those charities that had to do with Me Too. There's an email talking about this. This is Sunni goes in on Timothy Chalamet. So July 2018, she calls him a prick, okay? July 27th, 2018, she sends this to Jeffrey Epstein. The subject is New York Times review, Hot Summer Nights is trite, sexist opportunism. And she goes, I'm glad that prick Chalamet's movie did not get a good review. No, I'm not vindictive, smiley face. And then it's a link to the story. And there's even like the DNA crazy thing, the 23andMe. That's another rabbit hole because Jeffrey Epstein would buy a lot of gifts. He actually did get gifts of DNA tests for Sunyi and Woody Allen. And for literally, there's so many names of people who he would get DNA tests for, 23andMe kits, for them to test their DNA. And there's a lot of speculation about why he would do that. Then I looked into it. I found several rabbit holes about why I think he was doing that, because he was also very obsessed with DNA and testing. There's a lot. Sunyi again emailing Epstein. This is September 19th, 2018. And she says, I underlined it. It gives Ronan Farrow too much prestige, more than he deserves. I thought this was funny. And when I looked up what article this could be, literally a few days before, I think this is the article. It's New York Times. It's in the art section. It's a few days before she sent this. And it's talking about Sunyi basically speaking out and defending Woody Allen. So I think this is the article. It says Sunyi Previn defends Woody Allen and accuses Mia Farrow of abuse. And this is like when she came out and said all that stuff about how Mia Farrow would like hit her with stuff and was abusive. And then Moses as well, the other adopted son, also spoke out against Mia Farrow, saying that she was abusive, and the disabled siblings that they had that were adopted, that she would do messed up things to them. Could both things be true? Like the allegations against both of them could be true at the same time. I don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, she did come out and she spoke about it and she said that. And so I think that's what she's referencing, because also in 2018, right, Moses Farrow, he wrote a blog post called A Son Speaks Out, and he talks about the incredibly inaccurate and misleading attacks on my father, Woody Allen. I feel like I can no longer stay silent, as he is to be condemned for a crime he can't commit. And then he says, it pains me to recall instances in which I witnessed siblings, some blind or physically disabled, dragged down a flight of stairs to be thrown into a bedroom or closet, then have the door locked from the outside. Mia even shut my brother Thaddeus, a paraplegic from polio, in an outdoor shed overnight as punishment for a minor transgression. Later on, Moses was talking about how he wishes he could take his father's last name. It's like after the Me Too movement thing happened, Moses and Sunyi came out and officially spoke to the media, because they usually don't do that, and were like, we were told to lie, we were actually being abused by Mia, our father's innocent, and everything like that. So they came out and they defended him. Some of the last things that happened before Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, and that is April 5th, 2019. There's a calendar entry that shows that there's a dinner with the former Obama White House counsel, Catherine Brumler. Remember Catherine Brumler, the one I told you about, who arranged the visit with Woody and Sunyi when Obama was in Hawaii? Okay, April 5th, she is at a dinner scheduled to be with Chief Bannon, who is the Trump White House chief strategist, and Woody Allen and Epstein. What an interesting group of people. February 2019, Amazon ends up severing its ties, and like it had this contract, all these shows it had been doing with Woody Allen. Now with all the backlash and stuff with the Me Too movement, they decide to like cut ties with Woody Allen, and he actually sues them. He said that they gave him vague reasons over this baseless accusation and that they didn't pay him, and they ended up settling. So they probably gave him something. The last dinner between Epstein and Woody Allen was May 9th, and this was Woody Allen, Epstein, Soon-Yi, and Kathy Rumler, and another guest. A few months later, Epstein got arrested. When Epstein gets arrested and then dies mysteriously under suspicious circumstances, we don't really know the extent of his relationship with Woody Allen at this time. What is really causing problems for Woody Allen is the Me Too movement. And then in February of 2021, we had the bombshell documentary. It's on HBO. You should watch it. It's called Allen versus Farrow. It's several episodes. It's really, really good. It has a lot of exclusive, never before seen like interviews when they were younger. It's just, at the time when it came out, it was like a bombshell. A lot of this stuff was never revealed. Again, nothing seems to really, really affect Woody Allen. That brings me to the beginning of the video when I said the cult of Woody Allen, right? This cult following. No matter what, there are people that will be like, it's just like what Epstein told him in the email. Okay, a few actors and actresses says he don't want to work with you, but like no danger. So what? No danger. Like you're not going to get any charges brought against you. It's just public opinion. And the people who've always supported you seem to continue to support you. And so again, what cancellation? You know what? Murder. What's going to happen? He's in his 90s. Okay. I don't think anything's going to happen. We'll see. I doubt it. I don't think anything's going to happen to any of these people, to be quite honest. And in doing the research for this, I stumbled upon so many other things that are like, you could clearly bring charges on some of these emails where it's like obvious that what's going on, but I don't think it's going to happen. Hate to be a pessimist, but I don't even think it's being pessimistic. It's being realistic. You know what I mean? Like, look around, other than Ghislaine, what? Nothing. I hope you found this informative, interesting, useful in some way. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to try my Patreon, I would not stop you. I have a free trial. The link should be in the pinned comment and in the description. Check it out. Whoops. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.